nabiyyin Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. All praise and glory belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our Lord, our Creator, our Cherisher and Sustainer, and we send countless blessings and greetings and salutations to Rasulullah, Habibullah, Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay, listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this special edition of The Big Question. Yes, we are talking The Big Question with me, your host, Irfan M. It is a Thursday, the 8th of July, 2021, and football is almost home. It's waiting at the station to be picked up before it finally arrives home. So we're hoping that, inshallah, by Sunday, 11 o'clock, football will be back home after a 55-year round the world trip. So I think all the English fans are excited. I'm excited. Was a bit disappointed. Obviously, as big Leicester City fans, Kasper had to endure the bitter taste of defeat. And, but so happy for England, happy for our country, for all the fans and for the team and for Gareth as well. So let's wait till Sunday. And joining me on this special episode of The Big Question is probably one of the most well-known personalities and probably a minor celebrity as well in terms of the media world, but a massive celebrity in the business entrepreneurial sphere. He's done a lot for our community. He's done a lot for Leicester. He's looking very slick in his outfit today, I have to say. But joining me is one of the pioneers and brains behind all of the community radio that we've been doing. Joining me, I think this is the first time we're actually doing something together, is Mr. Zed Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for inviting me today to join you.
Well, thank you for giving me the honor of your presence.
I've been waiting for this moment for many years now.
That makes two of us. It's like, what do they call this? It's like, when two giants come together, it's the irresistible force versus the immovable object.
We kind of do different programs, but first of all, I think we should say a big thank you to Kasper.
Yeah.
Right? Because Kasper, if he would have saved that and he grabbed the ball, the dynamics would have been different. Maybe if we would have lost yesterday, we would have had to ban Danish butter and Danish buttermilk biscuits.
But you know what though, Zed?
And all Danish products would have been off the shelves.
But it feels very strange. Like, it's almost as if it's not happened, the fact that England is in a major final. I mean...
Well, it did happen, yeah. I remember when I was at the stands in 1966.
Really? Come on. Come on. 1966.
1966 last time, I can even remember.
Which stand was this? Was this the Uganda National Stadium stand?
Minute by minute, I can give you a commentary. 1966, Jeff First, he comes in, he scores goals like never been scored before.
Yeah, but everybody knows that already. Just check Wikipedia.
So, of course, not everybody checks because and I know that we have a society where people don't know, right?
True.
These are the times when people don't know. So we're here, both of us, to make sure that people get to know. And we make a difference.
Okay, so...
Right? People got to know, haven't they?
They have got to know. And this is what I want to talk to you about today as part of our big question. Now, inshallah, on the 19th of July, we will see the formal lifting and the legal lifting of all remaining restrictions that were imposed in March 2020 as a result of the pandemic. And I want to talk about COVID and the impact of COVID it's had on business. Now, we know that certain sectors, certain industries have been massively impacted and even decimated as a result of the restrictions and COVID. And we thought that they would be impacted by Brexit, which happened shortly before the pandemic sort of took a grip of the whole world. But if we look at the two elements in their sort of individual merits, I mean, let's touch on COVID first. What do you think, as a businessman yourself, and we've seen what has happened to hospitality here within Leicester, which is where we are, and with the furlough schemes coming to an end now, and businesses having to, restart, revive, and reopen, do you think it's a case of don't worry, in a few weeks we'll be back, or what will need to happen to entice customers and consumers back into those environments? And is it a case of we'll be back to, because a lot of businesses on the high street especially have closed as a result of COVID. So the likes of John Lewis, Debenhams, it was a nail in their retail coffin. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
There are too many different aspects here that we need to be aware of in the business world. The world is on a reset. We got to press that reset button and go again. But this time we have to do things different. And I'm like quite amazed that if we don't digitize, don't go forward with a new way of working and see the world with a fresh pair of eyes. A fresh pair of eyes, that's what we got to do. So what I'm now going to say to you is that if we don't do that, we're going to be same old again. And we're not going to make a difference, right? So, for example, yesterday I was talking to one learned Maulana, Hafiz, he was not a Maulana, and he said to me that I'm working on the project of the armed forces. I want to engage more people from the ethnic community to join the armed forces. And I said, why? Why do you want to do that? The world is digitizing. You don't heard of drones, right? Maybe you should get more people to sit down and design the new technology going forward. You know, why do we want to go back to thousands of years of where we want to create the same old again? You know, now they don't fight wars with soldiers, they do them with drones, they do it with technology, right? And why you want to do that? Why you want to encourage people to come and do what we did yesterday?
Why not?
Why? Because if you're going to make a better world for tomorrow, right, we have to teach our children to think in a different way, not think about war, about weapons, about killing each other, right? Haven't human beings killed enough human beings already on this planet?
I get that.
Right? So we have to reset that button. When we press that button, that's not only for our economy, it's for our humanity as well. We have to press that button.
All right, so let's take that point. Okay, so if we don't have ethnic minorities in the armed forces, let's say, that doesn't stop there being an armed force. Do you know what I mean?
We can have people joining the armed forces. I don't know why they call it armed forces. We can be doing inventions. We can be doing innovations, right? The whole concept of forces and creating weapons of mass destruction. Look at recently we had all this issue going on about Gaza. You know, Gaza, we see that happening every 5-6 years. They bomb it. Somebody pays for rebuilding it. After 5-6 years, they bomb it again. And you look at the emotional uproar throughout the country. Now our young people, they're 16 years old, they get totally emotionally charged about Gaza. Look at all the uproar in schools. Look at the mismanagement by the teachers, the headmasters, across the board. You know, when they should get everybody together and talk about solutions for the future, where we see a future where we don't need to kill each other. Does the future of humanity depending on us killing each other? What have we learned from yesterday? Do we do the same tomorrow? Do we today continue with selling weapons to one party and they're using them weapons to kill another party or a neighboring country? Is this how we want to train our children and teach them?
Okay, I get that, and that's the point. So to play devil's advocate here, which you know, I like to have a bit of a debate and a bit of a discussion. You could argue that when we were leading up to the Brexit referendum, there were the Leavers and the Remainers. And the Remainers' argument was not that the EU is brilliant and it's bright and it's wonderful and it's this happy place. It was more of, yes, the EU has its flaws and it has its drawbacks and its problems. But can't you affect change if you're part of the system rather than disengage from it?
Of course, what you're talking about, the Leavers and the Remainers, I'd like all those Leavers who was hell-bent with using media and social media and using the tool of fear. And look where we are today. People have forgotten about Brexit because we've been too busy with COVID. And of course, now we are super busy with Sunday coming home, right? Of course, I'd like all of those people to get on in a lorry and take a delivery across France to Italy and Spain, and then come back and tell me that what Brexit is all about. I'd like our ministers to do that lorry run, right? The ministers who was propagating Brexit, and you look at 14, 15 documents, you think about those lorry drivers who have to sit in their cab for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and they have to take 2 drivers because they run out of their time, and all sorts of logistical nightmares filling in 14, 15, 16 documents. And everyone is doing tit for tat. You come to Dover, you come to our port, you go to the other side, France, they're all doing tit for tat. And we're not winning. And we have forgotten Brexit for a moment, right? But
yeah, you're right.
You know, now start going into your supermarket, start watching the prices go up, down everywhere, right? When Brexit was happening, it was not happening overnight. It was going on, the debate was going on since 2016, right? Today we're at 2021. Brexit kicked off not long ago. Finally, it was agreed upon. And the referendum happened, and people were in the mode of fear. And it was a close shave. It was a very close shave. Where is Nigel Farage today? Where is all the people who said, let's do Brexit, let's do the Brexit? So if you are going to be in the game, now Sunday is a big day, you know. It's Brexit connected Sunday.
Is it?
Yes, of course it is.
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying. And right, so big game on Sunday.
Yeah.
England.
And the game
against Italy.
And you connect the game with COVID, right?
Yeah.
And you see that what's happening during COVID period, that we're playing this game. We're playing this game, and then there is no interaction. There is a lot of interaction between people and the cases. So there's a lot of implications, you know. So the game is going to go ahead, and the Brexit issue connected with the game is that if we are going to thrash Italy, we as a lone power will be on a journey, won't we?
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. But the thing is, I mean,
so it's not a European Cup. We're going to call this the Brexit Cup, right?
But you know what? That's an interesting point you make. And I want to ask you, why is it whenever we are having our national team playing in an international tournament, why are there always references, subtle or direct, to warfare, to colonialism, to empire, to you know, that rule Britannia type enthusiasm,
because
for one of that comes.
The reason for that is the mindsets of people have been trained like that, right? People have lost their free will to think. If you see how many people vote to come out to elections, right? All your recent council elections, by-elections, national elections, you only have 45% coming out to vote.
If you're lucky.
Right? You ask young people today, they're detached from the political landscape in the council or in the national or even the global stage, right? Local, national, global, they're totally detached. Now those 60% who are not coming out to vote, why are they not coming out to vote? Imagine if they also came out and we pushed that 40 to 60 or 70, right? What would happen to the dynamics?
But that's the point of Brexit, though, isn't it?
Yellow, blue, red that we have been.
But Zed, isn't that the thing with Brexit? The people who wanted to leave the EU, all of them came out because the people who would have voted Remain were complacent. They thought, you know, this will never get through. And similarly, with the whole, you know, if you look at abroad with the Donald Trump election victory, right? And this is got nothing, but I'm just making a point here, is that the point is that, and I speak to people, you know, I speak to people who, within my own circles, my own network, who voted for Brexit and are now complaining what's happening, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you're part of that result. You're part of the impact of what happened. And the thing is, the mindset, you're right, because I think within our communities, we don't think beyond our front doorstep.
No.
We just think, what's affecting me? You know, are my benefits being affected? Is life going to be made easier? And that's the problem. We don't engage. We don't engage with our youngsters around politics. We don't have So one of my, so this is one of my own personal observations on our communities, right? And I'm generalizing here. So I'm not singling out, Pakistani, Punjabi, Gujarati, whatever it is. But my problem is that we see everything about the Western world and Western society with fear, that we can't engage with it because it's going to affect our morals, right? It's going to affect, we don't want to get tangled into haram and this and that. But my point is that I see a lot of people who go through an education system, for example, right? They go to school, they then go to religious education or religious institutions where they learn about Islam. That's fine, that's great. But at the end of it, they lack some of the soft skills needed to make a change with what they. So they have the knowledge, but they don't have the technique or the ability to then impart that knowledge, which makes an impact or which makes a change. Do you agree with that?
We're all here to make a change. We had the police commissioner for Leicester East here yesterday in the studio.
Who's that?
We were talking about Yaqub Ismail, his name is.
Okay.
And we were talking about making a change. Be the change that you want to see in this world. And it's something that he picked up with me afterwards to say that we need to do this. We need to press that reset button. So now, after COVID, we absolutely have to step up our game and press that reset button across the board and make that change happen. And we're only going to make that happen not with the people of my age, older people. We're going to have to do this from grassroots. It's the grassroots we have to focus on because they are the future. The future is not people of my age or people of your age, right? I'm not saying that you are 70 years old, but the grassroots are the children that we have to focus on so that they don't have to do what we did. You've seen the political dynamic in the whole country, the landscape in the whole country. You have your blue, your red, yellow, right? And we have inner city, we have county. The dynamics are totally different throughout the city, right? And people don't have enough knowledge about how the system works, that how you have to politically engage to make that difference. If we don't, at the moment it's a circus, right? The best way I can explain it to the people listening right now is that we have a political circus in our communities, in our cities, in our counties, where it's the blind leading the blind, the sheep following the sheep, right? We need to bring change to that. How are we going to do that? Is we going to start at grassroots, at primary school, secondary school. We got to teach our children so that when they get to university, they are ready. It's too late by the time they get to university for them to then start learning about the political landscape. We need to teach them very early so they engage. So when our kids from the Muslim community, from the Asian community today, you can't say Asian community. In every city, there are over 20 to 40 diversities, aren't there?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? We have color, creed, culture, tradition.
Okay, so culture. Let's just talk about that for a minute. So I know you love your kind of your political rants and all of your changing the community, and I admire that and I welcome that. Culture, right? Where does religion end and culture begin?
Religion and culture.
Because they're not. They are independent.
Culture has been integrated into religion to change the shape form of what people are trying to peddle as their akida, right? So for those of people who don't understand, akida is what people believe in, that they must follow their religion in this particular mode, in this particular fashion, mainly with what they have taught, right? So they align themselves to that school of thought, that particular Maulana or that particular mosque. And change is going to only come about when we teach ourselves to say that every mosque is our mosque, right? Not a green or different mosques that people affiliate themselves to, right? Until we learn that humanity was for all, not for sections of humans. I didn't make the rules. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the rules, right? So this is a deep topic for another day, but the issues is we have to see past now culture, tradition, religion, color, creed, race. You see that we have racism here today that we had here 50 years ago, when 1972, when we came into this country. Today we are singing the same song. I've read this report, I've read that report. Every 10 years there's a new report that comes out, and the rebadging continues to happen. But is racism gone away?
No, I think racism has evolved.
Why do they call it institutional now? Why do they call it systemic?
Because it's embedded in everything that we see and that we do. That's the thing.
So I'd like to add one more word to that, is historic.
Historic is, that's probably since time immemorial.
Of course.
If you look at certain things, but okay. So let's go back to the COVID thing, okay? And
the reset button. Let's press that button.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna press the button, Zed. But I want to ask you about. So I went to a wedding 2 weeks ago. My first wedding in 2 years, almost.
MashaAllah, congratulations.
Thank you. It wasn't mine. Don't worry. Don't get excited. And it felt very, very different. It didn't feel like what we were used to in terms of the open celebration, the carefree sort of welcoming into an environment and celebrating what had happened. First of all, the numbers were a lot smaller, which I actually don't think is a bad thing. I think if we can somehow, minimize how we hold these celebrations and how we stage them, I think it helps everyone concerned. And I think that was it. But that industry, the hospitality and the leisure industry, in Leicester, pre-COVID is big business. We have all these halls that people hire, we have catering companies, we have wedding planners, we have fashion, clothing, outfit, people, hiring cars and very lavish and extravagant. Where do you think COVID has changed the dynamics of that?
It has changed drastically. I think all of us have to take out 2020 out of our calendar. It's gone, right? And every 100 years you see a 2020 come by. So I think we were due for that. And we can say that we're all 1 year younger, if you look at it that way, right? So we have to go back to say, well, how are we going to fix this? We are fortunate in this country that the government did put their hand in their pocket and support businesses. They supported a lot of businesses, right? But every sector of our community has taken a hit from all the leisure industry, every sector. There isn't a sector that has not taken a hit during this period of COVID, right? The sports sector has taken a hit. Everywhere has taken a hit. But we have to look at the positive side also, that in this moment of disparity, everybody has come together. And people have been working together, feeding the homeless, feeding the needy, the elderly. Different communities have been doing a lot of work across the board. So being involved in that particular sector, I've seen the Sikh community, every community out there has been reaching out and doing a lot of work. So I think we have to see that in these difficult times, what good came out of it. The question is, how do we continue that now, that good work?
So, the good that's come out of it is fantastic. We've seen so much compassion and care. But do you think we are at risk of falling back into the same habits of what we were? So, for me, right, COVID has demonstrated the failure of capitalism. Okay, a lot of people pre-COVID.
I wouldn't go down the road of capitalism, because now you're talking about
my point is
one school of thought against another.
But my point is,
I would say that.
But my point is
it
that
has awakened humanity.
No, it has. Right? But my point is that before COVID, there are families, and after COVID as well, there'll still be families who are 1 or 2 paychecks away from the poverty line. And my point about capitalism failing is that, don't you think society and governments have a responsibility to make sure that no one is in that position, whilst encouraging, enterprise, whilst encouraging trade and business. But it seems to be that in the encouragement of business, and we're talking about a certain political ideology here. Okay, is that go and make as much as you can. It doesn't matter at the expense of whom you do it. But we have people out there who are then stuck in a cycle where they can't get out and they can't climb the financial or the social ladder. And we're just setting ourselves up again for the same things if we don't implement the changes.
Of course, thousands before you have come out with a school of thought that capitalism is a failure to this, right? But I would say more it's a failure of humanity, right? Where now we are pressing that reset button, we have to learn that what our deen teaches us, what Islam teaches us all, right, is that we have to lead from the front by those people who have, right, to ensure those that don't have, is to make a better life for them. Not that you have to go give them money, but you have to go give them your time at least, right? There's nothing more than what you can do. Give them your time and make things happen positive. The moment you spend time with anyone, they will benefit from that time, right? It's how you create those disciplines and how we all have to lead by example, right? If you're doing good, I want to follow in your footsteps. But if I follow in your footsteps and you're not doing good, then there's going to be a problem, isn't there, brother?
There is, but that's my whole point, is that you've got to have things in place that enable that goodness to happen, because everyone is selfish to a certain extent. And before COVID, people were just like, no, I'm not going to give you this because there's no benefit in it for me. Or what do I get out of this? And what's in it for me? That's what's been exposed as a result of COVID.
No, what's in it for me has been around here for a million years, right?
I know it has.
It's always been like that, right? But today, we individuals have to take it upon ourselves to make a difference, right? If you and I and our friends, our family, they see us, they'll follow us. So we are responsible to inspire others. It's our responsibility.
It is, but I totally agree with what you're saying, and again, to be an advocate here, devil's advocate. Let's take New Zealand as an example, right? As a country, the leadership shown by Jacinda Ardern, they've only experienced 26 deaths as a nation since the pandemic began. Now, you can argue it's smaller, it's more rural, it's more isolated, fine. But what has been apparent is the decisiveness of the leadership to make decisions in the interests of their citizens and their population. Why can't we, as a nation that's probably similar size in geographical terms, maybe not population terms, but why see? And you can argue that the reason why the decisions our government made are based on those capitalist principles, because they don't see it as necessary to close business or that. But the point is that I think a lot of money could have been saved, a lot of deaths could have been prevented if we had seen something a bit more decisive.
Of course, I want to share with you a little story that I came across, which personally I was told in around period January. COVID started in England around March 2020. And October is when Wuhan started in China. And meditation, yoga teacher, she told me, Zed, I'm getting the hell out of the city. I said, where are you going? She says, my uncle lives in Devon. I'm going there and I'm going to isolate over there. I said, why? She says, you've seen all this happening in China? It's a matter of time before it gets to England here. And she told me that in January. And I, like Boris and like you and everybody else, didn't think anything more of it. Come March the 14th, I was blown away to say, wow, that was a prediction and a half. So she saw, as an individual, what's to come here. The rest of us, not you and I personally, did not have the power to create change, but our government, they were complacent. So complacency is what has got us where we are today. We were complacent. Every day the rules are changing. We don't know whether we're coming or we're going. The government don't know whether they're coming or going. So if they don't know, how are we going to know as a public? Yes? But she knew, so she took it upon herself and she left. She says, I told you so. I says, yeah, you did. I'm never going to forget you. So this is what's happening, complacency. And also, you mentioned capitalism earlier, is money, money, money. When they should have stopped the flights from India, they didn't do that, right? They did not do that for whatever reason. And now they brought into England what's called the Indian variant.
So in light of the data that we have right now and the upward trajectory of where we're going in relation to cases and deaths, is the government right to carry on with the unlock and the full unlock?
It remains to be seen, but definitely the rates will go up, the infections will increase. The only difference is everybody who's got the 2 injections will not be hospitalized, or there'll be less hospitalization, and the issues of oxygen and all the things we saw during the early part of pandemic will not be prevalent. So that's what's going to happen. Definitely, for certain, the rates will go up. So all of you listening in right now, be mindful, take care, and don't become complacent, right? Don't say, oh, my friend says it's all right. Just be careful. Be mindful, be responsible to yourself and to others as well.
That's it. And I think that's the message to leave this episode of The Big Question on. So in the last few minutes that we have, what is the one thing you would like to see over the next 6, 9, 12, 18 months?
I would like to see all these diverse communities in our city to come together, eat together, debate, talk to each other, and shape the future. That's what I'd like to see happen. The demographics in the inner cities are absolutely a total mess. They're divisional. They create more and more issues for the community, right? I want a one community, city, country. So we, in our city, if we can make it happen here, let others follow our example. That's what I'd like to see. Are you with me or are you without me?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm with everyone.
That's what I'd like to see.
I'm with everyone. I'm with everyone.
And
but
we want positive change for sure.
Yeah, and I think so. And I think everyone has a responsibility to deliver that, and to at least make the necessary changes within themselves to help facilitate that at the very, very least. So listen, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to speak to you. Even though if sometimes I don't understand what you're talking about.
I've only ever sat with you once
in a
show.
I know.
I've been a guest.
But let's
not a guest, but
let's make another opportunity to have that conversation, because I think people will be interested to hear what you've got to say.
Well, of course, we've got 56 seconds, and all I'm going to tell everybody listening in right now, stack up with your knowledge, with your data.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge plus data will give you the P, which stands for power, and give you the M, which stands for money, and give you the S, which stands for success.
Success, PMS, okay.
Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah, PMS. Yes, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best abbreviation, but we understand power, money, success. So, but yeah, it's all behind data information. And as Muslims, we're always encouraged to seek knowledge and improve our education. But thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for the listeners for listening in today. We're going to be back soon, so keep listening to get some dates. And we're going to have a few adverts now. But whatever you're doing, stay safe, folks. And it is coming home this Sunday, so fingers